What is going on, everybody? And in this video, I'm giving you a state of the market and some stock picks for February 10th, 2022. Now, state of the market. We are actually looking very bullish again. Coming into today, the close yesterday looked very bullish, but the biggest question going into tomorrow is what is the core CPI going to say? Now, this data is going to be coming out at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and essentially will determine those, uh, obviously, the inflation rates that are currently where they're currently standing at. Ultimately, what we want to see here, and what I think happened today, because we actually broke out of the wedge on the daily, is I think possibly the data could have been leaked out today, and we started seeing a lot of pushing with chips. Primarily chips had a huge day. A lot of mid caps had a huge day going into today, all kind of helping the market push up. But looking at over all the dailies, especially the banks, they're breaking over some really important resistance that we've been trying to battle through. And again, we're breaking this wedge on the index. A lot of tech is holding above specific. A lot of the big tech, the tech that really matters as going to carry the market, is breaking above a lot of that old resistance. And I said it would take a while, and maybe that is ultimately what we've been dealing with, is just trying to catch momentum to start building up to the upside. Again, earnings are coming out. Businesses are crushing it. A lot of them are doing extremely well, which shows just strength in the market. The market is liking that, and so we're starting to get the bulls back. But we are not out of the clear. We have to still realize that the rates are going to affect the market, whether that is priced in or whether that is not. We don't know how hawkish the Fed are going to come at this. If they do determine to come very hawkish at this, we could go right back in a chop, start selling back off. You have to be mindful of that, and you have to be very careful. But being said, also, you don't want to try to reduce risks as much as possible. But we are getting at levels where I think we will be okay for the short term. Again, you still have to realize we have Powell next week. We have FOMC meeting notes next week, which are some of the things that can affect what is going to happen. So this bump you're seeing now, we may get a big run tomorrow. Core CPI comes out good. I think we could have a strong bullish day tomorrow, maybe even on a Friday. But again, you have to realize I think that clock's going to be reset coming into Monday, waiting on Powell, waiting on those FOMC meeting notes. But that will ultimately determine if the bulls just keep running. The bulls have already found their answer. Maybe we just needed digestion. Maybe that's why we've had the chop. We've had some of these brief runs, and then we've had these two essential chop periods. Maybe that's all we need to have a couple-day run here. But ultimately, I understand that this chop is not going to go away. I believe this chop is going to haunt us for a while this year. So just be mindful of that, and also be aware that if, again, Fed becomes really hawkish, we could start selling off again. So overall, I really like where the market's at. If we can hold above this 45.75 tomorrow, that would be fantastic. I actually think if the report comes out good, I think that daily candle will open above that. I think we'll start running again. We really need to hold this 50. It's important that we do. Again, you also have to realize that the point we're at right now is not good. We are hitting that spot. It could be actually lining us up perfectly for a hard rejection going into next week, which could be very much a possibility. Even as strong as we are, we still have to remember all that stuff I just essentially said can be extremely provide a very extreme bearish sentiment, especially the rates are a bearish sentiment. It's going to affect the market. It's going to bring volatility. So again, we'll have to see how we open tomorrow. So tomorrow is a big day. Good thing is Bitcoin is still holding around that 44 mark. It's fantastic. I like to see this consolidation. as long as we continue to push up, we don't want to go straight up. If we push and go sideways, chop a little, push and go up, that's good for the markets. Again, we want to be retesting old resistance that now is new support. We want to be retesting those on the way up. That provides more strength towards the way up. So just be mindful of that. Bitcoin is still doing really good. If you like coin and MSTR as well, those are great equities to trade going into if you don't want to trade cryptos themselves. So being said, tomorrow, I think some of my biggest watches tomorrow, Tesla, obviously, I think is going to be a big one. One thing to keep in mind with Tesla is after earnings, it normally has a dead period about 3 weeks where it chops quite a bit. We've got about a little over a week in. Just be mindful that it still needs to break above some of this. We are at lower levels though, so if the market does decide to turn, we could do very well with Tesla. But just be mindful. I'm kind of expecting Tesla to really chop mostly. We've had earnings. There's no really true catalyst to push it up. It has to break some of these major. This 20 EMA has just been a huge headache at that 940 mark. If Tesla can break above that, though, I think it'll start getting some gas at least to the 1K mark. And also know it's been holding this 905 and also holding this 880 mark very well. So as long as it plays between there, I think it should be good. But if we do get momentum, really watch for this 941 break. If we get a break there, I think we are good. Another big watch I want to watch is Google. I did play this today. I did catch a little bit of this pop today. Major wedge break, and it just went sideways. This is telling us that we are waiting on this core CPI tomorrow. Again, as long as we hold above this 27.96 mark, I think we are solid moving forward. And again, it had great earnings. I could see us riding this all the way back to 3,000 very easily. It's just being patient and waiting out. If you can buy contracts with some time on them. Again, this volatility, it hasn't been very nice to contracts. Contracts been ripping up unless you are close to in the money. The big thing about some of these bigger contracts, if you do have or bigger stocks, is that they do hold they are holding premiums pretty well for the most part, especially if they've done well. You can definitely see that in Google. And then again, the stock split isn't until July, so you have to know that stock split move will probably be a while before that actually takes place. But I really like Google looking into tomorrow. Chips, still another huge one. I think will be huge tomorrow, depending. I like LRCX. I did play this a bit this morning. I did catch this brief pop up on some equity this morning. But we wanted to break that 615 and hold above that tomorrow. If we break that, then we get another resistance at 631. But if we do break that, you are going back to previous all-time highs. You can easily start heading your way back up very quickly, and that's something I want to watch. UPST is another huge one. I think right now we really need to get above. If we can hold above this 109 mark, would be great. That's the EMA for the daily. But we do have resistance here, essentially at the 119 mark or the 121 mark. If we can break that 121 mark, I think we could really start getting some gas and have a pretty clean pivot up to the 141 mark. I think UPST I really like, especially going into next week. I want to see how they do and on that particular play. So that's something I want to keep on watch. NVDA's already started to run, made a massive run. Some of these have already started to make big moves. Coin is another one I want to watch. It did have a break. I want to see if it can hold this 204 mark tomorrow. If we do get some sort of pullback with the CPI, I want to see if it just slams us right back into the support at the 203 mark. If it does, I want to try to pick this up, especially on these breaks. A lot of stuff is starting to break these wedges. So looking for a reversal on these. Again, something with long-term, some of the equity, I think could do really well. So watching that 204 mark tomorrow and then get a gap fill possibly up to 219 is what I'm looking for there. And then on some of these other ones, I think Twilio had earnings today. Could be a good potential winner. CMG had an awesome day, continuation today. Twilio will be interesting to see if this holds this marker tomorrow. It hasn't been holding stuff very well. So that's something to keep in mind. So some key levels to watch tomorrow. 231, if it holds that, it's 50% of the move. Again, depends where it's at pre-market, but that 232 mark I think would be good. 224 would be good as well for another bounce. But if it does break that 224, you definitely don't want to be in this because I believe it could start heading back down. Again, it's really going to depend on what the CPI has in store for us, and that will really guide where the market's going. A lot of the big tech was pulling back towards the end of the day, which is kind of, it wasn't pulling back too hard, but kind of guiding, trying to determine what to expect from that report. Again, that report I think could, I didn't think it had as much weight in the beginning of the week, but right now it's showing that it may provide a good boost to the upside and get us stabilize us above some good supports tomorrow. If it doesn't, we can do some pulling back. Like there's a lot of these stocks that broke that need to pull back. Like I said, Google broke and then kind of died. Again, one of your leaders. So these are the best ones to kind of gauge what the market is really doing. Had great earnings, and today it just kind of just opened flat and just didn't move. That's telling you that the market is waiting on something. What is it waiting on? Core CPI tomorrow. CPI is bad. Tech is definitely going to take a hit. So you're going to see a lot. If these big techs start falling, you're going to have to definitely watch out. Apple's not really a pick, but again, it's at that, getting at this top level. You want Apple to at least break the 177 mark tomorrow. If it can't do that, we're going to ride this back down to 171. I think it's a strong possibility, and so you definitely have to watch for that. And if you've made it this far, I think my big play for tomorrow, ASML has earnings tomorrow. I want to see how this does. I want to see how the premium rides tomorrow. Do we come back down and revisit the 650 tomorrow? Again, depending on core CPI. If we do break that, it needs to hold the 682 mark, and then we should have a pretty clean pivot up to 702. So watching that tomorrow, I think, could be really big. And then again, like I said, any of the chips are good ones to watch as well. Shop is one I want to keep an eye on because of next week. They have earnings. But it all depends. It's really been kind of jumping back and forth here. Again, just because of the inflation stuff, Shop has really been kind of dead and stagnant since then until the market figures itself out. It will always, market will typically always flood to the safe havens and then come back to some of these lower interested ones. Even though Shop, I believe, is really good, it'll flow back to these like second tier big tech groups once some of these other ones get exhausted, like your Amazons, your Googles, and all that. Once they get exhausted, then you start seeing some of these other ones start to pick up quite a bit. So if you've made it this far, remember to drop a like, and I will see you guys on the next video.